Good morning, Gate City. Good morning. Robbie Hassel has his breakfast, so we can begin now. I believe Mike Slane has our invocation this morning. I know I saw him. There he is. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Please bow your head. Father, we thank you for this beautiful morning, this gathering of friends, and the food you have put before us. We are grateful for all that you have provided, for comfortable lives, wealth, for health. We recognize our obligation to share with the least of us. Please keep us ever mindful of the Rotary motto, service of yourself. Amen. Amen. Stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of the things you think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Mike, you got a Rotary moment?
I guess I could scour one up. I guess probably one thing I always do is every time we go out to Camp Carefree, I always go, no matter where we do a little project, I always go back to the dock and the shelter area and think about the work that this club did. But more important than the work we did, like draining the lake, augering muck out of the lake, put in the posts and all that kind of stuff. I think about the value that that has to the kids that go out there every year. And that embodies service to both sides. That's my review.
Fantastic. Chuck, we got a Sergeant Arms report this morning.
Yes, thank you. We have a total of 45 Rotarians here today, good turnout. And with members and guest Rotarians, we have a total of 62 people here this morning. We've got quite a few guests. First of all, I'm going to mention the visiting Rotarian, Richard Needham, is from Airport.
Richard lives awful close to this club.
Richard, you need to come back.
I'm going to mention the Rotarian, and then if you'll please introduce your guest. First of all, Mike Conrad.
Yeah, I want to introduce, and I think most of you know, Matthew Foster, who is visiting with us today, and we're happy to have Matthew.
And then Bruce Rick is the guest of Dennis Marcotte. I don't know if Dennis is here, but welcome, Bruce. And then Erica Parker has some special guests.
I do. I'm very excited to have with me here Claire Raymer. You guys may remember seeing the email that I sent out. She is our recipient of our scholarship award this year. So Claire's with us, and her father, Ray.
David Crabtree has a guest.
This is Andy Starkey, Westie Long Hospital.
Chip Person has a guest, but he's not really a guest. I think you'll all recognize Tom Phoenix.
There he is.
Guy Rabondo has a guest.
This is Dr. Steve Hatcher. He could be a guest of Mike Boraz, just was Mike's guest before. So we're working on Steve to join. He's a dentist in our community.
Great.
We're light and dentist in the club. That's good.
And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
It should be noted that Tom Phoenix is not only a past president, but he is also a charter member.
That's correct.
Charter and not a dentist. So.
Lawrence Mann.
It's all Lawrence Mann. Please stand. Another charter member. Madam President.
Yes.
Ashley, do we have any updates for health and happiness for the club today?
There's no birthday.
Okay, so nobody got older and nobody got sick.
Nobody got older,
Has
nobody
anybody
had an anniversary.
seen or talked to Hal this week?
Not this week.
Turn the camera off.
Fundraiser. Chris?
I think I've set it up.
Okay, happy dogs.
You guys have been great. Thanks for all the team captains who have gotten back to me. Still haven't heard from a handful of team captains. I think I set the deadline for today. So if you guys who haven't gotten back to me about your initial team meeting, please do so. And I mean, I've got 3 or 4 teams that have already said they've got their amounts lined up and ready to go. So getting great feedback. Please keep that coming. I've updated the website on a couple of the FAQs, and as people ask those questions, I'm trying to get the answers out on the the website. So do make sure you visit the member section and keep the feedback coming back. It's very helpful.
All right. Erica, you want to introduce your guest?
Sure, I will. Good morning, Gate City. Good morning. If I could have all of our committee members for the scholarship committee, please stand with me. Any of my committee members here? Very nice. We had a tough task of trying to decide who to give our scholarship to this year. Now, while we did not require them to be extremely brilliant, it just so happens that our recipient this year has a 5.0 grade point average. Yeah, so we didn't require that they speak a foreign language fluently. That was not a requirement, but it just so happens that our recipient is fluent in Spanish. Not only is she fluent in Spanish, but she shares her language or mastery of the language with others in that she's extremely passionate about the ESOL program. And she has tutored at Mendenhall, and she's also tutored her peers at Page High School. So without further ado, if you would please help me welcome our 2020 Rookie of the Year Rotarian, Miss Claire Raymer. And Claire, I'll tell you that we do have a beautiful plaque for you. Our secretary has it though, so she's not here, but we will get that to you later.
Hi. Thank y'all so much. I just want to say I really appreciate this. I really love y'all's message of service, and I hope to extend my passion for service into a future career in international development. And so I just love to take service doing stuff locally now and hopefully extend that to when I'm older. But I just really appreciate all that y'all do, and I thank y'all for this honor, even if I did have to wake up at 6 o'clock. But thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's just excellent to know that it went to a local girl, y'all. Fantastic. Buster, do we have time for Happy Dollars?
Do we have time for Happy Dollars?
I believe we did.
We might. Just hey, bro.
Whatever he says.
Get a sip, it's gonna be a long one.
I probably should ask you to turn the camera off for this one too.
It's okay.
Okay, most of you know me. And you know I have a sense of humor. Some people like to hide things, I don't. So I'm gonna tell you something funny, and I'm coming out of the closet. I'm getting cosmetic surgery.
This is part of the witness protection. No, you're not going to. Look at Bob. Well, I'm not getting cosmetic surgery.
He wants to change things though.
Y'all know I like the little adventure. I've been known to do some things in the air and on the ground. And this past weekend, I did something I wanted to do for a long time. I went noodling on the PD River. And Fred Berry, some of you may know Fred, he's like a world-class noodler, and we went down there and we crawled under every rock in the river, and basically you're in water about this deep, and you find a big rock, and you find a hole with your stick, and you poke your stick in there, and you can feel a catfish bite it, and then you surround the rock so that they can't get out, and then you go under, and a couple people stand on your back, and you basically put your arm in there and wait for a catfish to bite you, and then you can pull it out. Hillbilly hand fishing.
What's that scab on your arm?
Get to the fun part, Bobby.
I can't even talk about all the levels of ridiculous. Like, standing on your back.
It wasn't as bad as the guy in the logging business who almost drowned, and he said, I can't swim in water this deep.
Well, unlike Bobby, I'm very risk averse. I don't like to do anything. I like things planned out. But I was going on a girls' weekend down in Manahalo this past weekend, and we decided we were going to go in Duckies. And I was a little apprehensive. I'm like, oh yeah, girls' weekend, we're for you, we got this. So we get on the Duckies, and we're feeling good. And I told everybody, I don't want to do the Class 3 rapid at the end. That was like my thing. And then we get down there, like, do you want to get out? I'm like, no, we got this, girls' weekend. And then I got into the Class 3 rapid, and the only way I got out was out of the boat. So there's one of my, that's the, I pretty much tumbled down a Class 3 rapid this past weekend without a helmet. For some reason we weren't provided helmets. I was really regretting that, but I can tell you
Somebody to
that
stand on your back for you.
firecrackers at this club, my shoulders still out. But anyway, I am here, and I can tell you that it is unpleasant to be going down a Class 3 rapid in 50-degree water as someone who is older. It is unpleasant, but I survived it. I'm here. Yay.
All right. Someone must have pictures.
Oh, there are pictures. I did not buy them, but one of the girls did buy them. Apparently, while I thought I was drowning, they took pictures the entire time.
Well, actually, at least now you don't need cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
How bad would rock look?
That's a good point.
So, did I ever tell you about Grandpappy Lewis's? He always told me that there were 4 great spiritual truths. He said the first spiritual truth is that the Muslims don't recognize the Jews as God's chosen people. He said the second spiritual truth is the Jews don't recognize Jesus as the Messiah. The third great spiritual truth is that the Protestants don't recognize the Pope as the head of the church. And the fourth spiritual truth is that the Baptists don't recognize each other at Hooters. Is there anyone here that I haven't offended?
That's really hard spot.
I hate following buses. We have, before we get started, we have a lot of really wonderful guests this morning, but I really want to say to Tom and Richard, it's really nice to have you guys back. And we missed you. And Lawrence. So Mr. Carroll here has been very gracious to have me rescheduling about 6 times when it snowed every week last winter. And so Chris has actually gotten him in to see us today. So Mike, I believe you're going to introduce him. This is a fun day for us. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it is a great honor for me to be able to introduce our speaker today, Roy Carroll, for his work in downtown revitalization. Roy was named Downtown Greensboro Person of the Year by the Triad's let me read that again. Person of the Year by Downtown Greensboro, Inc., and named one of Triad's most influential people every year since 2006 by the Triad Business Journal. A notable renovation, I think you all know, is the old Wachovia building, which, by the way, my first job out of college was working in that building on the 14th floor. I don't even know, that may be one of the floors you live on today, Roy. I'm not even sure about that. But it's a beautiful facility now with luxury condos. It has both commercial and retail space. In addition to his business commitment, he is also committed to several civic endeavors. Roy is a member of the United Way Tocqueville Society and has partnered with the Samaritan Purse to provide clean water and disaster relief. Now, those are Rotary type things. He also serves on a number of civic and nonprofit boards. Roy has been and continues to be a huge supporter of JDRF since his daughter Brittany was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We actually honored him in 2014 at the Corey Convention Center and raised that evening $1.3 million for diabetes research. Roy is married and has 3 daughters. So let's give a warm Rotary welcome to Roy Carroll.
Thanks, Mike. I wish Vanessa and the girls were here to hear that introduction. Maybe I wouldn't have to take the trash out this evening. But anyways, I know I've got, 55 minutes, and I've got a 10-point message, so actually, I know I've got about 20 minutes, and I got to speak fast because I've got an appointment in Charlotte at 9:30. I've got to be in Nashville, Tennessee at 11. I got to be back here for a county commissioner meeting at 6 o'clock this evening. So I'll talk fast and I'll move fast today. How about that? But anyways, what I call this a flashcard presentation. I'm going to talk on a number of points, and I'll be brief on each of the points, but points that affect our community. But I thought I'd start off a little bit of history about me and the company and what we're involved with. So just the Carroll Companies in general is basically a basket of companies. And the original company, Alaris Homes, my father and I started the company in the early 80s. I was a student here at UNCG, and he was a grocery store manager, and he got laid off the old Best Way supermarket. Probably a few of you in this room remember the old Best Way. Well, unfortunately, they were getting ready to get out of business. He was getting ready to get laid off, so he needed something to do. He tinkered on renovations and such over the years, so we decided to start building a house with some friends who wanted a house built. And this was a recession, the early 80s, but we didn't know any better. But again, I was a struggling college student, so when I say we started the company, we built houses, I mean, we nailed the nails and we swept the floors. And we did most of the work. I think we ended up painting, roofing, and so forth. And we were fortunate, by the time we finished that house, had another house that some friends wanted, and so one thing led to another. And so we went from that to forming Alaris Homes, Carroll Custom Homes, and built custom homes throughout the 80s, primarily in the southeast part of Guilford County. I bought my father's half of the company. He and I started together again as equal partners. I bought him out in about 1990 and switched focus to production housing. And that's a company that we still have today, builds homes in the Triad. And from there, we segued into about 15 years ago, I decided I wanted to build and retain ownership of something that I built. So I started building apartments. And so we built one small community, 31 units. I kept it, built another community, and today have 14,000 apartments in the southeast United States. And we have about 3,500 under construction right now between North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. So it keeps us pretty busy, and that's the CIP construction company, primarily is the developer of that. Once we build the apartments, and we've got a very basic, it's not a glamorous business model, we just build them and keep them, and we plan on building them and keep them forever. But once we build them, we turn them over to our management company, RA Carroll Management, and we have right at about 200 employees that manage these apartments. A couple other companies that are newer to the scene. One is Be Safe. I've worked on this concept with some of our folks for about 2 years, and this is our self-storage facilities. And what I noted in the research and everything is about 65% of self-storage buying decisions are made by females, and so most of the self-storage you go into, it was
you know, it wasn't well lit. It's kind of spooky. You know, you can hear a pin drop at the other end. Some strange smells at times in some self-storage units. And a lot of them had the fencing around the exterior. It looked like you're going into a prison camp or something to me. So I kind of developed this concept with kind of my wife and daughters in mind. You know, what would I feel comfortable them going in? So, and also wanted to have an exterior that had a good enough appearance that we could get it approved, and a lot of municipalities are pushing back on self-storage. So the first one that we did is up on Battleground. I'm sure every one of you probably been by it. And it's brick exterior, brick stone exterior, glass, very inviting. You go in there, it's well lit. We have music, soft music piped in the background so you don't hear that pin drop and it gets all spooky back there. We also have wine storage, and that's done better than expected. Why do we do wine storage? Well, a lot of people are into collecting wines, or they're in the Wine of the Month Club or something like that. You can't receive, of course, wine if you don't have someone of 21 years or older to accept it for you. If they try to deliver it twice, it a lot of times gets shipped back, say, cross-country Napa Valley, and you have to pay for the shipping on the third time. So we can actually receive that wine for you, put it in your wine locker. We can monitor that wine every day. We can give you a digital printout of the temperature, the humidity, and all that, so we protect the wine that's valued. And so if you haven't had a chance to go by there, I'll be glad to give you a tour of the little wine cellar there. Something that's probably got me a little bit of notoriety is purchasing or bringing back to life the Rhino Times. Of course, John Hamburg started the Rhino Times 25 or so years ago. When it went out of business about a year and a half ago, I called up John and worked with him to bring it back, bought the assets from bankruptcy court, and had a lot of fun with that. And people asked me, said, you get involved, you know, I don't know what John wrote about today. Of course, the Rhino comes out every Thursday. I don't want to know what John's writing about, because he writes about a lot of friends of mine, so I want complete deniability. So, but we've had fun with that. I think it's great to have another voice in Greensboro other than the traditional paper, daily paper that I'll talk about in a bit. But we've had fun. I think we've called attention to some areas in our community that maybe got overlooked. One of them that I guess I'm the most proud about is economic development. And, you know, I don't think that economic development was getting the attention, the focus that it deserved. You know, that's something that impacts every one of us here in the room. And I'll talk about that a little bit later about economic development here in Greensboro. But, you know, the Rhino Times wrote several articles. I wrote an article that was published in the Rhino Times about our lack of economic development, lack of focus. Everybody's talking about we want jobs, we want wage growth, but there really wasn't any tangible results being offered that I could see at least. So that's kind of a history bringing up to speed today on the Carroll Companies. My attorneys want me to put this slide in. This is my opinion, so you know, no one, if I offend anybody, you can't sue me. But anyways, it's great to have opinions. I welcome opinions that differ from mine. Our organization, my senior management team, they know that, you know, they're welcome to come to my office, sit down, and let's debate issues 360. And I think that's healthy for an organization like the Carroll Companies. I think that's healthy for our community. So just bear with me. Hopefully I won't offend anyone too much. Talking about, again, the areas that we're in, these are cities, communities where we have a presence. And so, again, I get to travel more than I would like, but enjoy seeing new communities, bringing ideas back to the Carolinas and Greensboro here. Bellmead Village, of course, it's a site that we assembled over about a 12-year period. It's pretty exciting. This is from actually my balcony of my unit in Center Point. So I get to look down. I got a pair of binoculars up there. So every morning, you know, I grab my cup of coffee and I go out and I see how many dozers are running around, or excavators, and dump trucks. But of course, we closed Lindsay Street here, and we've got quite a bit of cut from this end of the site to this end of the site. It doesn't look it when you're standing there, but it's about 16 foot of drop. And I'd always heard rumor that there's an old riverbed that ran through downtown Greensboro. I found it. Yeah. So I was walking by there yesterday. I had lunch at Undercurrent and walked back in this area, and it was some of the grayest, gooeyest soil you ever seen in your life. So we basically had to dig all that out, truck it off, and bring in all that soil you see there is imported. And so I seem to always find those riverbeds or rock or something like that when we're doing site work. But I'm very happy with this project and direction it's heading. It's going to have, of course, a Hyatt Place hotel. It's going to have 110 rooms. We're going to do some really neat things. Hyatt Place, even though it's a limited service hotel, I would put it against, you walk in the lobby, I'd put it against any hotel in the area. But the rooms are going to be really, have some really nice features, really nice furnishings, and this is going to be kind of the centerpiece of the Bellmead Village development. It'll sit, I'll go back and point out, you can kind of see a little bit how they have it excavated here. It's going to sit kind of catty corner right in this area, and then it'll be flanked on either side by the apartment buildings running down, of course, running down Eugene Street here and Bellmead Village. So just some architectural detail renderings. We're still working on refining a bit. It'll be 5-story of apartments over parking. Parking is always a struggle when you're doing urban development, but I think we've got that licked. We wanted to program in some retail on the bottom, but just could not have the area to program retail in due to the parking situation. But these will be luxury apartments. They'll be 1 2-bedroom, 9-foot ceilings, crown moldings, nice finishes. And this plays hand in glove kind of with some of the. Let me show you another rendering or so. With our latest acquisition of City View, and this is a slide showing City View. And City View, of course, is developed by Signature Properties. As Frank Allman, Seth Coker, good friends of mine. And I watched these guys develop this. I was kind of envious. I said, they were so smart and pioneering in the South Side. I didn't see it. But when they built it and got it going, I was really envious of these guys. They did a fantastic job. 443 units total. And so what this allows us to do with acquisition of this site, with Bellmead Village and with Centerpoint, is we'll have basically 3 price tiers of residents downtown Greensboro, and roughly just short of 1,000 units in total. And this will enable us to do some shared amenities and some things we're looking at. For example, a fitness trainer that'll do classes in the 3 different locations. We're looking at possibility of even having electric shared cars or something, where we'd have electric charging stations on each of the 3 properties, and you'd be able to check out electric car and drive it at the Friendly Center, drive it back, plug it in somewhere else, and those type things that we're still working on. But again, it's exciting that we were able to purchase this property. This is our first acquisition. All 14,000 apartments that I own, I've purchased, or I've developed and built, but we're working and we'll announce in the next 2 weeks a second acquisition that we'll close on before the end of this month. And then we're looking at possibility of the 3rd and 4th acquisitions this year, a little bit over $100 million. Next year we're looking to double that and do over $200 million of acquisitions. And so that's kind of a growth side of our business. We're going to keep on developing like we are, but some of these markets that we're in, like Austin, Texas, Nashville, it takes about 2 years to get your plans developed. So we've got the capacity to grow a little bit faster than that, so we're looking to supplement that with acquisitions. News and Record, people ask me, so what's the status of your offer on News and Record, and was it serious? I'll be the first to admit that it didn't start out serious. It was just a conversation around the dinner table, and it's like, oh, to buy the News and Record. And the next thing I know, I was like, maybe I should buy the News and Record. And so I sat down and I made a very serious offer. When it comes to money, I get real serious real quick. And so I made a $16 million offer to Warren Buffett. He sent me a nice response back in about 10 days. Said, Roy, thanks for the offer. The News and Record is doing fine, and it's not for sale, and or it will never be sold. And I look at that. 80% of the assets I buy, sites, properties, they're not for sale. And I get told that the first time. I'm a very patient purchaser, and so I leave my offer out there. And Warren Buffett, he's 84, 85 years old. His never is different from my 52-year-old never. So I'm going to keep the offer out there. We'll see what happens. It could get interesting. But also, I've not been completely happy with some of the coverage. I know, I don't think at times the News and Record gets the friendly competitor thing. Of course, they're the 800-pound gorilla, and we're the little chimpanzee at the Rhino Times. But so there was an article they wrote about the wall. The big dispute over the wall, and front page above the fold and all this, that we were in violation of an agreement, and even though we had 3 attorneys look at it and say, no, you're perfectly right, and we've gone beyond what we were supposed to do in terms of that agreement. So I've told the News and Record, I'm going to put you in a 6-month timeout. If you can't write anything kind about us, I'm going to put you in timeout until November 14th. So I'm not talking to them about anything that we do. They can read the Rhino Times or the Triad Business Journal and figure out what we're doing, but I'm not going to talk to them until November 14th. Actually, Dick Barry called me and said, can I go ahead and set an appointment for November 15th? I said, absolutely. So anyways, jobs. This is something that's important to me, and it's important to everyone in this room, job and wage growth. Unfortunately, I'm having to travel. And why am I having to travel? This conversation I have quite often. I'm having to travel because we're just not creating the jobs and the wage growth in this area. I wish I didn't have to travel. I wish we were creating those jobs and prosperity, more prosperity for all. And so, in my opinion, we had lost our focus. We had the wrong people in there for too long. You can call it they've grown complacent or whatever. But, and so I was as anti-Greensboro partnership as you could possibly be, and wrote about it and talked about it every time anyone would listen to me. And our elected officials, local elected officials, also became impatient with job creation, wage growth. So what happened is basically the city council told the Greensboro partnership, you guys and gals have to change your stripes, or we're going to take over economic development ourselves. We're getting beat up. This is not good for our community. Greensboro partnership, in my opinion, listened to the city council, other people expressing their opinions about lack of job growth or job creation, wage growth, and had a changeover at the top administration, brought in Brent Christensen, brought in Dave Ramsey, and very, very sharp, competent people from Mississippi. I met both of them before they came here. And I'm confident that these are the right people. Now, things aren't going to happen overnight. You're not going to see, a mega site announced overnight. But these guys are involved. They're engaged. Well, what are they doing that's different than the previous regime? Well, one of the things is just one of the things that they have to sell, in addition to our educational system and skilled employees and quality of life in our community, they have to actually have tangible sites that they can go out and talk about. And I can tell you that no one with the partnership up until recently had been in conversations with us for over 10 years about sites we own. Now, they don't know what sites I own, and I don't know what sites like my friend David Griffin owns or Richard Beard and those guys, because every time we buy a site, just about, we put it in a separate LLC, and it's just about impossible to pull that information together and see who owns what. And so, for example, our property out on the east side where we sold a site to American Express for a data center, we've got 700 and some acres still out there, and we're constantly buying and selling, trading land and so forth. So the partnership didn't know what we had. They didn't know what we had assembled, because a lot of those purchases were in 5-acre parcels or 30-acre parcels and such. And so you've got to know your inventory. You've got to talk to not only the developers, but the farmers and other people out in the community that own land. And you've got to bring everyone to the table for that conversation. And you've got to take a complete inventory of what you have to offer. And we didn't have that. We didn't know who had what, who controlled what. And so we're really missing the boat in that regard. Just in the short period of time that Brent Christensen's been here, he's had numerous meetings with the development community, with landowners, and they're assembling that database, which they absolutely have to have. In the meantime, again, City Council, County Commissioners, and City of High Point said, while they were waiting on the hires of the administration, Brent Christensen, they decided to get together and do their own thing. We can't wait any longer. So you have the Greensboro, High Point, Guilford County coming together to do their own economic development. And I certainly get the fact that there was pressure on elected officials to take economic development under their own wings and not, so to speak, outsource it any longer to the Greensboro Partnership. The problem is, as we know, there will be a board appointed under this program, and it'll be a political appointee board. And I'm just not convinced that that's the right direction to go. I understand why they did it. I think there's absolutely some benefits that the three municipalities working together can come alongside and support a partnership type program. But most communities, our size and larger, they use a partnership format. And again, I've swung 180 degrees from being one of the biggest, opposing the partnership direction they're going to. I'm a fan of the partnership today because of the folks that they brought on board, and they did listen to the community. They listened to our elected officials. So I don't know exactly how that's going to shake out. It's still not certain if Greensboro, High Point, Guilford County is going to try to do their thing. It could get really confusing if you think about it, because a lot of these big employers come through the State Department of Commerce, and so if they come through the State Department of Commerce, who do they call? Who does the state call? They call this three entity municipality group, or do they call the Greensboro Partnership? So hopefully that's going to get figured out in the next few months. I think the takeaway on this is we've got people talking about tangibles on how we're going to create new jobs and have wage growth. So I'm very pleased with that. DGI, BID, and ZAC. Downtown Greensboro, it's another one of those entities that kind of has lost, in my opinion, lost focus a little bit on what it's supposed to be. Some people say, well, it's supposed to be promotion of downtown. It's supposed to be maintaining the park downtown. It's supposed to be keeping the sidewalks clean, security, and all that. Some would say it's economic development. They're supposed to go out and recruit businesses, outside the state or wherever to come in downtown Greensboro. That's all being kind of defined right now. Zach being appointed, he's gone out, he's had numerous focus groups, and I've told him personally, I think the number one thing you need to find out, Zach, is what your job description is, because right now there's not clear marching orders, and I think, at least with Jason Cannon, who's a fine young man, I think that the community gave him mixed marching orders. And as we all know, managing people, you've got to have a specific, this is your job description, this is what you need to be focused on. So hopefully the community is going to be able to get together and downtown community and figure out exactly what they want Zach to do, what the DGI should be involved with, what they shouldn't be involved with. The BID is the Business Improvement District, and that's a special tax. It's kind of like a homeowner association dues. And what happens is the people who live in the core of downtown pay an extra tax beyond the normal city and county property taxes. And these taxes are supposed to go for services beyond the standard. The standard is every city maintains their, cleans the sidewalks and provides police protection downtown. This is supposed to be for services beyond that. Well, what's happened is the city has taken those extra funds and somewhat commingled them. That may be too strong a term, but they're all in the same general fund bucket. And no one can tell me or other property owners downtown exactly where those extra dollars have gone for extra services in downtown Greensboro. So there's several large property owners downtown that are talking about, well, let's just do away with the BID tax altogether. If the city's just going to take our money and use it towards general fund, that's not right or fair. Right now, the DGI board is controlling those funds somewhat, but they have to go to city council each time they want to get their own money to use to do some improvement for downtown. So first of all, we're trying to get an accounting. It may take an audit back 4 or 5 years to even determine where these funds have gone. And then from there, we'll determine how much funds we have. It's roughly about $900,000 a year to go to extra services. Zach, as far as Zach being involved, again, it's one of those where I kind of had a change of thought. I absolutely believe that Zach needed to come off city council if he was going to run DGI. I thought there was just too many conflicts there. Zach, it's a political minefield. It's probably one of the worst jobs in Greensboro. You couldn't pay me enough to be president of DGI. You're trying to reconcile, residents and office workers and club owners and all these people, and it's basically, and also city council, so it's a political minefield. The good thing about Zach, I think he's pretty tough-skinned, so he'll be able to hopefully maneuver through that political minefield and do a good job for our downtown. These are the three buckets that I see, and I've voiced my opinion that I think DGI should be involved with. One is downtown marketing promotion. Unfortunately, there's not one place they're not marketing, putting funds forth for marketing downtown, trying to bring people downtown. There's a lot going on, restaurants, entertainment venues, and so forth. Ambassador, just come alongside. We never had anyone from downtown Greensboro come alongside us when we were doing Centerpoint. No one from DGI has come along and ask, can we help you or do anything to help you at Bellmead Village? I mean, CenterPoint's $40-some million, now we're doing $55 million, and I would hope that, I want the next guy that comes in from out of town that wants to spend $50-60 million downtown. I want him to have someone that's an ambassador to help him along, because I'm for additional investment downtown, and hope that we can create a situation where there is out-of-town money eventually flowing in downtown. I know that helps the value of my properties. And then just downtown database and information. There's not one unified website that you can go to right now and look and see if there's a ball game tonight, or if what's going on at Triad Stage and other venues. And it'd be nice if there was one website where you could go to that had everything, every event just about is taking place in downtown in one location. We'll talk a little bit about Senate Bill 36 and what it means, and good and bad, and I'm not taking either side. I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of Senate Bill 36 and House Bill 263. There's certainly some good things. There's also some things that aren't as good. 4-year terms, I believe in 4-year terms. I can't run my business year to year. All these elected folks, they go into election mode the year before, and they pretty much go into lockdown. And you can't run a business, you can't run a community thinking short term like that. We need 4-year terms, I believe, because you get a freshman like Jamal Fox, smart young man, but he basically has 12 months to kind of establish himself, learn the ropes, which, that's 6 to 8 months there. And then he's got to run for re-election on that record that he hasn't even established yet. So I just think we spend too much time in re-election. You talk about the influence of money, go to 4-year terms. That's a good way to kind of separate that. At least you're not dealing with that every other year. Another benefit I think of the bill is I've had more conversations with people that are interested in running for city council than ever before, and a very diverse group of people. I think Justin Outling, I think that's the kind of young man or woman that we need, very smart, used to dealing in a larger organization. Let's face it, the city of Greensboro is right at $500 million a year budget. It's 3,000 employees. And and don't get me wrong, the city council should be populated with a very diverse group of people. But I think there needs to be more people that are used to dealing in large corporations, large areas such as that, because again, you're managing a large organization. When you sit on that city council, it's just like sitting on the board of a large corporation. And it's good to have people from different walks of life sitting on councils, especially having some, at least, that understand the workings of a large organization. A negative, we burned some bridges in Raleigh. Regardless of which side you're on in terms of this bill, there's definitely been some hurt feelings down there, and there's hurt feelings here, of course. And I'm concerned. When you talk about job creation, you talk about mega site, bringing a mega site or a large auto manufacturer or whatever. That doesn't happen in a vacuum. We cannot do that ourselves in this community. We've got to go to Raleigh and get incentives and absolute cooperation. And so I'm concerned about what that means. Right now, the governor's Senate bill is tied up in the House. And, no one's told me that there's a direct connection to what's going on here, but I can't help but think that we have done some harm to ourselves. Now, can we mend those bridges? Absolutely, but that's going to take time. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time when it comes to job creation and such. News and Record wrote over 200 articles against Senate Bill 36, House Bill 263, and the Rhino Times did a poll, and according to the Rhino Times poll, about 64% of the people polled, as a sampling of 1,000 people, either didn't have an opinion about Senate Bill 36 being good or bad, or were in support. And so I think the News and Record, that shows that they do not have the influence that maybe they once had in our community. Another bad thing that I'm keeping an eye on is taxpayer-funded lawsuit. Of course, it's front pages of News and Record this morning too. The cost of that, I've heard, could run anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 to fight this bill, and that's coming right out of our pockets, unfortunately. And then we're also paying the other side, of course, to defend the lawsuit, because we're taxpayers in North Carolina too. So it's a double whammy. And I'm just saying, I just hate to waste a bunch of tax dollars in this fight. A weaker mayor, that's something I absolutely was against. Most of the communities we're working in that are very dynamic communities have a stronger mayor format. And I hope that if anything, we actually strengthen the mayor's position, not weaken the position. And this bill unfortunately weakens it. And I guess one of the biggest things I've heard in terms of negative is just a distraction to economic development and what we need to be working on in our community. So that's a quick rundown. There's probably other bullet points we could come up with, but those are the, again, what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly of this bill. You know, what could have been done differently? Of course, you could have got some more community buy-in. You know, I own the company. I can go in tomorrow morning and say, hey, we're going to do this, but it sure would have been nice if we could have got more buy-in. I already talked about burning bridges, and we have Senator Wade that can be potentially a strong advocate for job creation or incentives or whatever, kind of at odds with the city and taxpayers spending money, of course. This is something I'm going to go through. Actually, can we cut the camera off a second?
We have a raffle we need you to help us with, and we've got a book we're going to donate in your honor to Cone Elementary. So if you can pull a card for us and call the last three numbers.
Need my glasses. How about a 546, I believe?
All right. Very good.